right, so here we go. We are, Chip, do me a favor. Come on over and bring that little table over here, please. That one right there. There you go. Scoot it on over here. We are live, and bring it on over here, son. Because it's live right there. Perfect. Thank you very much. All right, there we go. So, all right, so we're live, coming to you with what episode is this? Joe, do you have any idea?
Number 50.
Ooh.
50.
Uh-oh. I've got that same connection problem. It's going to sound like, they all sound like robots.
What's up, Stu?
Can you hear me all right, Jeff and Joe?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. Tell you what, Joe, if you don't mind handling the intro, I'm going to sign off and sign back on. Cool?
All right, sounds good, man.
Do it. Make it happen.
All right, so obviously this is going to be the World Series recap. We got Jeff, Blair, policesoftball.com, coordinator and founder. He's a retired deputy chief of Tustin Police Department. I actually texted him this week asking for some advice on some things, and some of the issues we're having around the country with lack of applicants and police officers at this time. So anyway, I reached out to him, Mario, a couple other guys. He is 4-time Majors Division champion, 2-time Master Division champion, 2013 Hall of Fame inductee. And I'm glad that Jeff was able to join us today and go over the great tournament that we had here beginning of the month. Trini, you back with us now, man?
Give me just a second. I'm going to be there in just a second. Right. Let's see here.
Trini is here with us, and he is coming from another, country again. He's in Costa Rica for the second time in the last 2 months.
There we go.
There's Aviana. She's obviously there with him as well. I see Trip in the background. I see Audrey in the background, and I think I saw your mom and pops in the background too. I don't know.
Dude, I got my mom, my dad, my wife's parents, my son, and my daughter with us on this trip. So it's a cool trip, man. Costa Rica's badass, and made it happen. I'm excited because we wanted to be able to make this happen in a timely fashion because the World Series is worth that. So a lot of effort, a lot of things go on to be able to make that thing happen. I just did not want to wait, so we made it happen from here. So it's cool. So did we introduce Jeff already?
We did. Jeff is introduced.
Right.
You're introduced in another country, and I'm Joe Monahan, not from Queens, but from St. Louis. And hello, Frank. Good to see you again. And and there's my little banner there. Home Run Derby champion, Texas Showdown back in 2018, I think.
1996.
On that note, Joe, did you participate in the World Series Home Run Derby?
Yeah, and I got stopped. It was a tough. When I was hitting, it was pretty tough to hit. And not a lot of guys hitting home runs on that field at that time, but as the sun started going down, guys started hitting them, and it was a good showing at the end.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, Jeff, because I think it's going to be pretty interesting. We have 18 viewers right now. I know there's going to be a lot more coming on here shortly. But what I want to know is what does it take to get through? Like, how does that whole thing take place? Like, let's just say I said, you know what, the hell with it. I'm going to give it a shot. And I go out there. How many guys show up to the initial home run derby, the initial attempt? And then kind of like, how do you see it progressing to get to at least a finalist? I don't know. I have zero idea.
So yeah, what I do is I take that Wrigley and I black the field out, so I don't have any games on that field, and that's the HR Derby qualifications, right? So and I will have that field dark for like 3 hours, so like maybe 3 games, and during those 3 games, anybody who was here the day before or whatever, as long as they have their little ticket, they go down there, they present it to Norm Coe, who's running it, along with Donnie Meyer ran it with him, and Big Tone, I think. And so they get a chance to hit. But what we used to do, and this took forever when we were in Palm Springs, is we do round 1, and everybody would hit in round 1, and then round 2, and everybody hit. And this thing would go on for like 5 hours. And the problem is now because we have games going on, guys wouldn't get a chance to hit, right? So what we do is we say, hey, look, anytime between, whatever, like say noon and 3, you can come qualify. But here's the key is when you hit all your rounds back to back. So Trini comes up, right? Trini's first round, you got 6 pitches or 5 swings to hit a home run, right? So the minute let's say you hit one on the first pitch, you're done with that round. There's no point in hitting again.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is you're staying in the box because now you're on round 2. And round 2 is 4 pitches and 3 swings.
That's smart.
And then you get down to the 1 pitch. So you're there. In theory, somebody could go up there and take 3 swings and advance to the final. And then we bring all those one swing, the one pitch guys back right before the opening ceremonies. We'll bring it back maybe an hour before. Say, okay, all you guys got to the final round. Now you guys are going to all sort it out. We're going to end up with 2. And we used to try to do an East winner and a West winner. Now we just take the 2 best swingers in the tournament because East and West is so blurred now because it really had the nations kind of come together that it really everyone knows everybody now. There's not like a big secret. So who's the best hitter in the East?
Yeah.
And then those 2 guys get to go in front of the biggest crowd at the the opening ceremonies, and then they're on a clock. Man, off the top of my head,
that part was really cool because now everybody says in a home run derby that your pitcher's the key, but now your pitcher's under stress because now he's trying to pitch as quickly as possible in theory to give you the best or the most opportunities. But is it always the best? Sometimes I think when they slow it down and just make sure it's a quality pitch, that's what's going to make the difference. But I know that
guys will be swinging at bad pitches, and all they're doing, they're not going to hit a home run on a bad pitch. And now they've extended their energy, right? So there's a lot to be said about I think what did Mario have? Like, I'll throw a number, I think 14 or something in 2 minutes. But he probably missed 14 or, more, you know what I mean? That's a lot of swings in 2 minutes.
Yeah. Softball by Fat. What's going on, Frank? How you doing, brother? We also have Tommy. What's going on, Tommy? I appreciate that gift. I'm wearing it here in Costa Rica, by the way. It's keeping me warm. Is Andreas?
Is that thong you got on in your little hot tub there?
Maybe I'll show it at the end of the broadcast. We'll see how many viewers are here and who requested. But hey, man, when in France, even though I'm in Costa Rica, it is what it is. Andreas, good job, Andreas. Have you ever participated in the home run derby? You should. But at the same time, maybe I want you not to, so that way you can keep your base hits and home runs on cue. That is true. I mean, I think that if you go into that home run derby, you could possibly, unless you're extremely disciplined, get accustomed to just trying to hit it up and out. You know what I mean? So that's one of the reasons why I've tried to avoid, that at times with my guys. Terry Dugan, what's going on, brother? Big sexy in the pool. I don't know about big, but maybe sexy. What do you think, Joe?
I don't know. Let's get Audrey on there. Let's ask her.
And Lyle Reyes, what's going on, brother? Thanks for joining us, man. Well, I'll tell you what, we're coming here to you live again. Y'all have had the introductions. I will say this, we're going to highlight, this is the last podcast where it's like series as far as the year is concerned. The World Series is the final one. After this, kind of off season. So if you guys have something you want to talk about, something you want to highlight in the podcast, it could be an outstanding, community officer, like we did this, like they do with the World Series, the Outstanding Community Police Officers Award. It's a very cool thing to do. I think it's important to highlight what it is we do outside of the field. With the community. And if you got like a player you want to highlight, if there's a particular subject matter, send it in. And especially with Joe. Joe's all about it. Man, if you send something to Joe, he'll bring it up and then we can make it happen. So it's important to do that as we go into the off season. I know that if you guys want to, I think next year, the main thing we're going to try to do is we're going to try to bring people along with our YouTube channel. That's the biggest thing that we can do to be able to grow this thing. It's on YouTube. So I know some of you guys aren't, have expressed that it's like, hey, man, I'm not into social media or whatever. Man, just go to YouTube, create an account, and then subscribe to Trinidad. That'd be the cool thing to do. It at least helps me to be able to, promote the the podcast a little better, but I need to be able to have subscribers and then ultimately watch hours. But we'll figure that out, as far as the watch hours later. Let's see here. Oh my God, Lyle said, Joe, Trini has his thong on backwards.
I believe it, man.
Who would know?
I know how Trini rolls, man.
Who would know if I have it on backwards or not? I'm just saying. Audrey says, I say sexy.
I bet she does.
I have her paid there on the side to be able to make the right comments. Ralph Hamlin, what's going on, brother?
What's up,
Man,
Ralph?
I didn't see Ralph at the World Series. Did y'all see him?
I did not.
No, I didn't see him this year.
I don't know if he made it.
Yeah, I know. Ralph, I miss you, man. Let's see here. Andrea says, when in France, get naked. And then Daniel Higa, how's it going, guys? Thanks for what you do. We appreciate it, brother. It does mean a lot to be able to have that type of recognition. Not necessarily that we're looking for it, but it does take some time out of our day to make it happen. And it really is for the love of our circuit and for you guys and the camaraderie. So I'll tell you what. All right, let's go to Jeff. Here's what I want to ask you. So the World Series, right? We highlight the World Series. It's our major tournament at the end of the year. It's what everybody focuses on throughout their year. If you don't mind, give us a little bit of the World Series history for those that may not know.
I think you're muted. Jeff, you're muted.
I don't know if we can hear you, Jeff. Yeah.
I'm back. Sorry, I was talking to the wife.
Okay.
Can you guys have me now, right?
We got you.
Okay,
yep. And Deanna, I hear you with the intro. We're good. Let's just roll with it. We're fine. Thank you, though, for that reminder. Go ahead, Jeff. Tell us about the World Series history. And here's the thing. I continue to try to bring teams who don't know about the World Series into the circuit and ultimately to be able to participate. So for those guys who don't know about the World Series history, go ahead and let us know.
So I'm glad you brought that up because I take things for granted. I've been in this thing since it started, right? So I assume everybody knows about the World Series history. I assume everybody knows about who Chevy Wright was and why we have a Chevy Wright Award. I assume that everyone knows who Walt Red Connery from New York Metro was, why he's the Manager of the Year award. But then I start talking to guys, and there are guys that this is their first year. There are many guys that don't know who Del Pinkney is, the guy that created this thing with me. So I apologize for the veterans, and I'm looking at the list of people on here. Most of the guys are veterans. They've probably heard this spiel before, but I'll say it again in the event there's one guy that doesn't know. So what happened was Del Pinkney and I used to run a small station team back in the 90s, and in or around 2003 or so, they created this thing called the internet, which is like 20 years ago now. And we were trying to find a tournament to put our team in, because back in the day, you'd only get flyers mailed to the station, and it would only be like the California Police and Fire Games, or it'd be the Arizona Police and Fire Games. But we had heard there was other tournaments going around, like there was one in Tahoe, but we didn't know when it was. So Dell says to me, we meet and we're in graveyards. He goes, hey, listen, I'm on the internet now, and I didn't know much about it. And he goes, I'm going to start a website. It's called Police Softball. And the whole purpose is so all these tournaments can advertise with their dates and their locations of the tournament. I said, that sounds like a great idea. So he did that, and then we came up with the idea of having a message board. And then I went to every state softball message board I could find and started spamming them, saying, hey, if you're a police officer, come to our website. Come look at our message board, Police Softball. And then I started, because I'm pretty creative, I started like hatching ideas like, hey, I'm going to create a rankings. And I created it based on like stuff I would find on the internet. Like, oh, I saw the first ever top ranked team was, give me a second here. It was that team it was a combo team out of Kentucky. It was the TPS Lawmen. So it was like, I think Bobby McGee might've been on it and some of those guys, but I made them the number one because they were USSSA had them ranked number one. And they truly, I probably shouldn't deserve to be number one. I think they won a turn. It was the only USSSA sanctioned tournament. So they were number one, but what it did is it generated a lot of conversation, and all these teams started arguing about who the best team was on our message board. And back then, you did not have to like register with an email address. You could just comment under whatever name you wanted to, and things got really ugly really quick. And that board was blowing up. There's probably 500 comments a day, and because guys were able to hide under anonymity. But whatever the case was, seeing the arguments over who the best teams were, I said, hey, Joe, let's put all these teams together now that we have a common like platform,
Yeah.
and let's put on a World Series. So I went to the Big League Dream. Big League Dreams has been the nicest facility around back then. 2005 it was, but it's really hard to get tournament allocations for these fields.
Hey, Jeff, real quickly, I don't
Yeah.
like to interrupt your flow, but I do have to comment. I want to make sure that everybody understands when you guys decided to create rankings, people don't understand that your conscience is there because you already know you're going to offend people. You're going to make people upset. We all want to be able to get along. We all want to be cool with each other. I know, especially when I depend on Joe a lot. But man, if I had to do what you guys do, even with my own tournament, I would be stressed the hell out. Because when you start trying to rank people or put people in certain categories, you already know you're going to piss people off. So I'm just saying, I know that there's an angle that maybe not everybody appreciates with being able to take that kind of thing on.
So it's funny you bring that up. So when I first started doing this, and this is what generated the buzz about everything, right? I was coaching my daughter's fast pitch team, right? And I start getting a bunch of missed phone calls on my phone, out of New York, right? So finally I answer one of them. It's like, Jeff, my name is Roger Kiki. I run the New York Metro team. I got a major problem with you having the New York Blues ranked ahead of us. I'm in the middle of this game. Can I get back to you? He's like, no, bullshit. We beat them twice in Dayton last year. So these are the kind of things, like I said, early on, man, it was like I equate our sport to the UFC. Do you remember the UFC 1? There was no mixed martial arts.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
There was like a sumo guy fighting a boxer who fought a karate guy. That was police softball when we first started this, because no one knew anybody, and this was completely different. And then when you put everybody together, so it was it was like the Wild Wild West. And as a matter of fact, our first ever. So when I said, hey, let's have this World Series and bring everybody together, truly find out who the top teams are. Our first ever logo was the United States divided between the East and the West, with the Missouri down the middle and the West. Everything was East against West. There was an all-star game East, because no one knew. I think maybe the DEA combo was the only team that ever ventured outside of the Nevada, right, to go, or Arizona to go East, and they played in Dayton one year. And lo and behold, they had an illegal lineup because they had guys from 2 states. And back then, Dayton was only a 1 state. And DEA always had guys from California and Arizona, like Benjamin and those guys. But whatever the case was, so we brought everybody together for this first World Series, and we had 32 teams. And it was a culture clash, because we were used to having time limits in the West, right? So the games were an hour long. But we made a bunch of mistakes early on. For example, I got these ridiculously hot, I think they were 47, 525 softballs, right? And we did not have provided bats. Somebody brought their own bats. And the Big League Dreams, so long story short, is they gave me the fields in October, because I wanted at the end of the year, because I didn't want to step on anybody's toes. I didn't want to compete with any other tournament. So I want to put this at the end of the year, call it the World Series. But I got these red hot balls, everyone swinging their own bats, and no time limits. And so we made it it's probably 7 home run limit. And if you exceeded that, it was a foul ball. That's all it was a foul ball. So
wow.
I mean, it did what big guy Gino from Minnesota. I remember he hit 4 home runs in a row somehow, and none of them counted, and he was still batting. So I don't know how it happened, but it was a home run for foul ball, a home run for foul ball, and then, but whatever the case, maybe it's 3 or something like that. But he had 3 solid home runs in a row before the 4th one was an out or something. So as a result, the games were only going 4 innings, and they were ridiculous. It was ridiculous scores, 4-inning games, 3-inning games, and people weren't going to come back. So the next year we said, okay, we got to get rid of the time limits. But if we get rid of the time limits, we can't use these balls anymore. We can't have these ridiculous home run rules. So then we started making, the home runs are now outs if they, because the fields play very small in Palm Springs. The Vegas ones play small too. But so anyway, that's kind of that's how it all started. And then so we had 32 teams. They realized it was a good thing, but it could be better. And every year we worked really hard to make it better, to where we got it better and we got good. It was no time limits and everything. And then we said, hey, we outgrew Palm Springs. There's only 5 fields there. the biggest hotel only had like 250 rooms, and we were doing like 500 rooms or something like that a night. And so we got up to like, I don't know, 50 teams, and we went to Vegas. And Vegas, boy, that was the first year the Vegas facility opened. And I, fortunately, the general manager, who happens to now be the owner, he lives by me, and I didn't know this, but I met him, I schmoozed him, I brought a big book with all the pictures in it. I worked so hard. I said, please give us these dates in Vegas. They wanted us to stay in Palm Springs because we were selling that facility out, and they liked it.
Yeah.
And they knew they were going to sell Vegas out, right? So I said, let us move, because I've outgrown Vegas. I can bring more teams. So I went from like, I want to say 42 teams, and then we jumped right up to 70 teams, and we've been like sold out ever since then. But the very first year in Vegas, I mean, Vegas is a big venue. You know, there's a lot going on in Vegas. There's big concerts. We're big enough to where the mayor of Las Vegas came out and threw out the first pitch for us in the first ever.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. I can imagine.
We've been in Vegas since 2010.
Yeah. And that was the first year BLD opened up?
First year BLD Vegas. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
There's BLDs open up. Yeah. We were BLD Springs, and then Vegas opened. And it was like, it was so, because they were that you guys saw. We'll talk more about the condition of the fields and the
which people have commented on, but go ahead.
Right. So we'll talk about that. But at the time, it was brand new, so it was pristine. So they wouldn't even let us drive our truck, our U-Haul, into the facility. They had a little golf cart, and you see how much crap we have, right? We must have made 100 trips in that golf cart back and forth.
Oh yeah,
because they didn't want to have tire marks inside the complex.
Yeah.
But
times have changed.
Later, I think we're gonna
that makes a huge difference, because in Waxahachie they let us do what we want to do in Waxahachie, and that makes it so much easier. Pull the trailer up, offload it right there, even keep the truck there if you want. Right. That's really crucial when it comes to the logistics of everything.
We can do that now, but we couldn't year one. And then later, I think it might be on here, but I think I'm going to talk about the fields, because big upgrades going. So
we are going to do that. So you had the website World Series by the numbers.
Yes. So a lot of guys don't know this, but if you're like a stat geek, like a Joe or something like that, if you go on our website, you'll see like World Series by the numbers. And if you click on that, you'll see the entire history of policesoftball.com. It's not the entire history of police softball. The guys were playing police softball before I was born, I assume, right? There's probably stuff going on back in the 60s, or I was born in 68. But as far as like modern day, you know, what do they call it? The modern police softball, it'll take you back to 2005, and it's got like every top ranked team from 2005. It'll give you every World Series winner since 2005. It'll tell you like every like award winner, like every Chevy Wright Sportsman winner, every Player of the Year winner. All that stuff is on there. And so Dell probably more than me, but I don't know, I'm a nerd too. We're both historians, and I always thought it's very important to document our history, just like Major League Baseball does. So for a lot of these younger guys, you know, like even if you go to the rankings, you can see where your team is ranked over since, I think it's like since 2005, it goes all the way back. And there's only a few teams and a few people that have never missed a World Series. Minnesota Lawman's one of them, DEA Commo's one of them. And I'm not sure how many players have never missed a World Series, but there's just so much history that goes in there that I just want to share that with people to know, like, if you are a stat nerd or you want to see the history of your team or anything like that, it's all documented on there, and it's a lot of data entry, a lot of work. I got to do it all myself, but it's
check this out. So, a couple of comments. Number one, Ralph Hamlin says, "I can vouch for police softball back to 1974." That's really cool. So, because you know that in some way, shape, or form, police softball's been going on for a very, very long time, you know. But I'm curious. I mean, it really makes you think, like, when did they actually start a real softball tournament just for the camaraderie, just for the therapy of it all? You know what I mean? For the love of the game, but probably, you know, not as competitive. I mean, there's probably ASA-type pitching and a lot of beer drinking going on, whereas the World Series, when you're trying to get to that point of making it to the top 5, man, you're talking to your guys going, look, go to sleep. You can come back to Vegas some other time. Don't do this right now. You know what I mean? But I'm sure back in the day, it was all about, hey, who can drink the most and then show up and still play. So Ralph, thank you for that. One thing I want to touch on real quick is Ralph also said he had a shoulder surgery, so he's been out all year. That's why he wasn't there. And if you guys don't know, what we are doing is we are doing a GoFundMe. This is for Etchy. And it's awesome because Audrey brought this up. Andreas brought up a quick talking point. We need to raise $890 more for ETU. So we have an honor chair. This honor chair is created in memory of a fallen officer. It goes into their roll call room, and takes $2,000 to be able to make this happen. It's not just for the chair, which is very customized. It's also to be able to deliver it. They deliver the chairs, and we're going to be heading to Florida and deliver this chair. So, Deanna, I'm not sure if you have something or not. And if you don't, between now and then, that's okay. But we do want to be able to let you know there's a GoFundMe. And we'll see if there's at least a snapshot of being able to go on our GoFundMe and to be able to help support this effort. If not, we'll include it in the details, or we'll make it happen at some point here soon. So thank you, Andreas, for that. Let's see here. We've got the facility upgrades, Jeff. Let's talk about the upgrades for 2023 when you come to BLD, because that really was a little bit of the talk. You go to other BLDs, which a lot of these players do, and there's upgrades or there's newer facilities. What's going on with it? I'm assuming you're talking about Vegas, right, with the upgrades?
Yeah, so Big League Dreams as a whole has new ownership. And just recently, in the transition, they had not been upgrading the facilities. And like last year, I thought the Vegas facility was the worst I'd seen it until this year, which it looked absolutely terrible. It looked like ghetto. It was like, other than the fact it's still Vegas, I mean, the facades look terrible. The stuff was peeling off the walls. At the end of every season, I always write a kind of a recap, and I send it to the owners, and with comments on like, hey, thanks for having us, because the staff is amazing there. And I said, but you guys got to do something about the actual facility. The staff can't, like the people that are working there, the worker bees, they're great, but they can't compete with like the sun, like rotting out the wood on the facades, and those, the pictures coming off the walls, and then the turf getting eaten up. And I got an immediate response back saying new owners are pumping a ton of money into it. And I've gotten 2 text messages back since then with pictures of dudes out like knocking the wood facades down, putting up new plywood, painting, all kinds of stuff. So they've guaranteed me that by next year it's going to be top notch again. So that's a big relief, because the big draw is, it's, in my tournament, end of the year, the best teams on the best field.
Yep.
Yeah. And they're going to deliver on their end. Unfortunately, along with that comes a hike in the, I won't impact you guys, but they're going to charge us more.
Well, you know what I mean.
What about entry fee? They're gonna bump that up to $15 next year. What was it, 10 this year?
It was like 8 or something. Yeah. So now I think they're raising. So every time I without getting into the specifics, but every time you rent the facility, I don't rent the facility for a block. It's you rent per game, and they're raising it $10 a game, and it was already expensive. So
did they give you a time? Did they give you a time frame when all that work is supposed to be completed?
They said no. All they said was when you come back to the World Series next year, it's going to be really nice. But they're doing it now, so I'm presuming it's going to be for this coming up season. I'm guessing spring.
I got you.
And my understanding is it's not just the Vegas facility; they're upgrading all of them. But Vegas might be. I'm hoping it's the priority. So,
I would imagine, man. Yeah, I would imagine. Brandon West, what's going on, brother? He says that he agrees that they have to fix that place up. Way too nice not to be pristine. I agree. I mean, it's not just our tournament. You hear about so many tournaments that are in Vegas at BLD. So it would make sense, and hopefully they'll make that happen sometime soon. Hey, tell me about this.
I've seen the pictures. Yep, go. Cool.
Tell me about this, Jeff. Jeff made Maddie mad recently when we were talking about the predictions, I guess.
I'm guessing that's with the rankings.
I know. So basically, I read into that. So State 48 is making an argument that they should be ranked higher than the Hounds. And although State 48 beats the Hounds head to head, when we do the rankings, we don't look at just head to head. We look at like, have you won a big tournament? And I don't think the State 48 won any big ones. I think the Hounds did win one this year. So we start looking at like tournament wins and stuff like that. And then you start looking into head to head.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we got 40 viewers right now, and that's awesome, man. Everybody's interested in this recap, so it's really cool. I will say that Softball by Fat says Reno/Sparks, still the best maintained fields I played on. Haven't been to Wax with the turf fields yet. I've been to Reno with Joe, and man, that place is nice. I really like that center area where they have an indoor bar, indoor restaurant. All the food was great. I mean, that was very, very impressive. Hard to get in there. And Joe, I remember we talked to them and they were like, man, we're booked out. So
Yeah, they're
if you get a place,
yeah,
if you get a place there, a place in the year to be able to get there. And that's what a lot of people don't understand when you put tournaments on to find a quality field. It's got to be repeat. And that means that we have to have the participation. You know, we have to have the teams agree to sign up. Directors have to have an idea that, all right, at a minimum, I'm going to get 15 to make sense of this. And it can be a challenge, you know, at times. So we appreciate you guys making that effort to travel, which I know we're going to get to, Jeff, when it comes to this new idea of these qualifying tournaments. So I'm excited about that. Jamie Bailey says $8 this year with one back in tokens. And that was LOL on there. Jamie says
$1 is a good down payment on a beer.
Well, we use the shit out of it. We use the shit out of them for, I think, can you use them for, no, you can't use them for batting cages, huh?
No.
Okay, well, we use the batting cages a lot this year.
You could finance a beer with that. You put $1 down and then quarter installments every hour on the hour.
All right. So, hey, we're going to do the opening ceremonies. Jeff, you know, in my opinion, we show up for the softball, and that's cool. You know, we all play softball all year long and we all participate in the game and we get it. But for me, at least in my personal opinion, the opening ceremonies and what we do at that time is extremely important. So, Jeff, I'm going to let you take it, man. We went to a couple of tributes, and if you don't mind touching on that.
Yeah, let me just pull up my notes here.
Yeah, man. No
so
problem.
First of all, I want to thank everybody. Those opening ceremonies, they're really important to me, and there's nothing that like it just.
Hey, look at that cameo right behind you.
Yeah, she's chasing the dog around. The dog.
That's a Hall of Famer, right? That's a Hall of Famer right there.
Yeah, she's right. She's chasing the dog around. Okay,
it is a live show.
So what I always encourage people, like people always ask, hey, what time are we done on Friday so we go out Friday night? I'm like, can you at least get to the opening ceremony? So I want to, because listen, it's a big deal to see these people get into the Hall of Fame, to see these Player of the Year awards for this home run derby. So I do get a little bummed when people say, hey, we're doing a big team dinner and the whole team doesn't come to the opening ceremonies. So I try to put them at a reasonable hour. It's nice when we do them under the lights and stuff. It makes it really neat. But at the same time, I understand that maybe that's during dinner time and guys want to go out to dinner. So I try to make them reasonable to where we're done by like 7:00 so guys can still go out to eat dinner afterwards. And then this year, obviously, we had games afterwards. So teams had to be there. And this format that we kept this year is going to be the same format for next year. But I do appreciate everybody coming out. It was a huge crowd. It was great. We had there's the crowd right there. It looks even better under the lights, but it is what it is. I want you guys, I want to have the best of both worlds. So I know, Vegas is enticing because, there's so many fun things to do, but if you could just give me 2 hours on Friday night, I would appreciate it to go out there and for all these guys and Mike O'Neill.
Hey, Jeff. Jeff, real quickly, if you don't mind, I want to add this in because, like at my tournament, it's very important that I express to everybody. If you will do something, when you say that you appreciate all the effort that goes into a tournament, when you appreciate everything that goes on behind the scenes, when you say that, your participation in the opening ceremonies shows me. So there's a lot of things you can say with your words, but by your actions, it means a lot. I make sure I tell my team, you need to be there. I mean, come on, man. Like I said, come back some other time. Don't come here for, which I don't have to really do that so much. But, man, I really stress that we're here for this. And this is what it's about. Come some other. You got all year long to come back here to hang out, gamble, drink, go to the strip. The opening ceremonies is what we're here for. And if you're not here, it just, man, you miss the part of what makes us be there for each other when you have a 0-4 start to a tournament, which I know we'll talk about later. But I'm very sincere when I say that that's the kind of thing that makes a difference. So anyway, I just want to emphasize that if you are not there for those opening ceremonies, you really got to review, why are you participating? If it's just for softball, cool. But I mean, I really think that you need to make sure you're there for that,
I
because
think
it's
as soon
so
as somebody
impactful.
goes to the opening ceremony the first time, they don't miss them after that. That's my
I agree.
opinion.
I agree.
My team's there every year, and any tournament that has an opening ceremony, it only makes sense. So,
Yep.
So I always make sure, like, even though it's not truly the opening ceremony, because the major teams have already played 3 games, right? I make sure no one's been eliminated. I make sure everyone's still got soft. There's no
Yep.
teams that have been eliminated. Why would you go to opening ceremony after you've been eliminated? I understand that, right? So I make sure I try to do my best to make sure that everyone has the ability to attend the opening ceremonies, and I also try to make it as convenient as possible. So as a result of that, I do appreciate those who do show up and make it special, because it is like those guys that are getting those season end award or the like into the Hall of Fame. When you're out in the field, for you guys who haven't been on the field, when you get on the field and you look at the crowd, it's impressive and it makes the moment so much special. You know what I mean? To see all those people looking at you. And the bottom line is, I mean, none of us are pro athletes, we're cops, and that's our moment right there. That's my 30 seconds of fame when I'm getting out there and they're handing me a plaque saying I'm the defensive player of the year, or they're handing me, a Hall of Fame coin saying I'm in the Hall of Fame. That's it. That's all you got. And all we have is each other. So I appreciate that. And we had a real special opening ceremony. We had a dedication to 2, and this is a bad year. We had 2, cops die every year. The fact is, it's a sad thing. Cops die every year, but it's rare to lose police softball players, guys that we played with, right? So we had a tribute from Ecke and Timmons. The teams came out and they had a ceremonial first pitch. That was really touching to have 2 players. These guys played in the World Series. They were on the field in that crowd in previous years, and now we're out throwing out a first pitch. And I just thought that was just really touching. And then the presentation of the Del Pickney Lifetime Achievement Award to Doreen Spinelli with Jimmy there. Boy, Jimmy's speech had me choked up as he was talking about the spirit of police softball. And Spinelli was one of those guys. Remember I told you in 2005 it was like the Wild Wild West, and there was crazy stuff going on, and the message board was on. Spinelli was in the middle of all that, man. He put us on. He's a founder of that message board as far as creating excitement and drama. I mean, every time Spinelli posts something, you want to read it, because he was threatening to knock somebody's jaw loose or punch somebody's tits in. He literally, Monahan, I'll punch your tits in the next time. And he was serious. This guy was crazy. In the first ever Palm Springs tournament, we had to separate him from this guy named Jim Rabb. They were going to fight in a hotel room over something. I don't know. It was about softball. But it's not bad. It was. These guys are like brothers. They fight and they kiss and make up and they'd be drinking.
Yeah.
It was just. So whatever the case is, having this Spinelli moment was big for me because he was in there from 2005 from the beginning. So we moved on from that, and then we went into the award winners and the Hall of Fame inductions.
Thank you.
And that was really special. And then we had this was really fun. Was our shoot off between the home run derby. So we had the whole
really quickly, Jeff. Hold on, Audrey.
Yep.
Look at that girl. That's my camera holder on the field. That's my the one who planned for me to be able to have this time to be able to bring this show.
Nice.
So, y'all don't mind? Quick shout out to the wife. Look at her. Man, she really did a job for our Waxahachie tournament. But anyway, so we did this. Keep going, Jeff.
Sorry. So anyway, I'll touch on the home run derby first. So we had the whole theory theme. I always do a theme, right? So this year's theme there's 2 themes. One was actually Yellowstone, which you saw the shirts earn the brand, and it was the police softball logo with the brand on it. And then, and so a lot of stuff had barbed wire and stuff like that. But the other theme in past years, we did like the New World Order. I'm a wrestling fan, right? So it was like the New World Order versus like the old guard. It was like the
I remember that one.
But yeah, that was a fun one. So this year it was David against Goliath, and we created this David versus Goliath All-Star game, which I'll get into after the Home Run Derby. But the Home Run Derby ended up being, not by any way that we planned it, a David versus Goliath. We'd done something similar before in a different tournament where it was like a weight division. Like if you weighed over 200 pounds, you the heavyweights against the lightweights. And Mitch Brulette weighed under 200 at the time. He ended up beating the Goliath. This year, the David and Goliath was I think he's on the podcast watching Danny Higa from LAPD Blue. He ended up getting to the finals. And I don't know what Danny – he doesn't look like he weighs 200 pounds. I'm guessing he probably weighs, 175. He's a smaller dude. But he can hit, and a great defender. And I would not have anticipated him being in the finals based on how many big sluggers were in there. He's a smaller guy. And then Mario Foster, who's the Goliath, and you see Mario, he's like 6'3". I'm guessing he's 250. And the guy travels the nation, hitting softballs with, the Rawlings factory team or whatever. So it was David against Goliath in the Home Run Derby, and then King Mario ended up winning. I thought I might have sent a picture of him. Well, there he is. So that's pretty cool. So we got the crown, and he's got the belt. Jake Rivers from Minnesota had to hand over the honors to Mario. And what's cool about Mario is we had Bud's Gun Shop through Justin Witt donated an AR-15 to the winner of the Home Run Derby. And Mario turned around and donated it back to us to do a fundraiser for a cause of our choice. So Ryan Coe's working on that now. So we have this gun out there that we're going to be raffling off, and all
that's cool.
Are going to go toward something.
Class act with Mario.
Yeah. So then back to the David against Goliath theme. We had this all-star game, which I was on the field, and
super cool.
It was okay. So this was cool. This is a fun story. So the David guys, they were all excited. They were all uniformed up, looking good. They were ready to go and try to prove themselves against the Goliaths. And I got to be honest, the Goliath guys, they were too cool for school, man. Half of them didn't have their uniform on. They didn't know they had shirts. They had better places to be. They were, they were just like, it was just like, they
have better places to be.
So I'm over by the dugout, and they're, you play outfield. No, I'm just going to, I might bat left-handed or something like that. Well, as the game starts progressing, it was very, very close. And all of a sudden, I'm listening to the Goliaths, and I heard one of them say, you guys know we're losing to a team of gold players, right? And these guys are like, all of a sudden, you could feel like all of a sudden all the smoking and joking stops, and things got very serious very quick in that Goliath dugout. And at the end of the game, these guys are trying. I mean, they're busting. They're like, you got to hear them in the dugout. Like, Braun brings in his best, the player of the year to hit a pinch hit home run, which he was told he's not going to play. We were told that a guy from the DEA combo, he wasn't going to play because he didn't want to hurt himself. These guys played every inning. They were in there. So at the end of the game, it's a tie, right? And I'm like, okay, good. No one got hurt. We're back on schedule. And I'm ready. Hey, it's a tie. Give it. The crowd, if you were there, starts chanting, let them play.
Oh, yeah.
Let them play. Literally, I'm like, well, I'm here for you guys. I'll do whatever you guys want. And we were ahead of schedule because I put a big time block in there. And the players wanted to play. So we played that extra inning, and you guys, I don't know if they got a picture of that play at the plate, but Trini, who hit it? It was one of the 5-0 guys representing Ecky. Go ahead, tell the story.
Okay, so I don't remember the player for sure, but I do remember this video. Let's check this out. This is it right here, and
let's go, Ricky, go, baby, go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Goliath does what Goliath does. Goliath wins, beats David 12-11 in extra innings.
That was great.
Ladies and gentlemen, policesoftball.com would like to thank everyone for coming out for this very special night. Before you leave, please check the playoff boards. Make sure you know what time you play. Check your field assignment, check your game time. Ladies and gentlemen, good luck. David and Goliath, congratulations on a great game.
Hey, you're so sober. Pants off. Hey!
What's going on,
Hey, brother, how are you? How you feeling?
Excellent job, dude.
Thanks.
How cool was that?
I love it. I love every second of it.
Dude, I'm telling you, what a great finish to that game. I mean, drama. You guys went out there. Everybody said, let them play. Let them play. You guys met, decided to let them play. And as a director, you're going, damn, this is extra time. All this. And then you have that kind of finish, which, by the way, so we got the, we're going to have our people tuning in and helping us out. Julio from the Miami Dogs. But I have to mention that
He said
Ricky
Julio
Vetta,
was the guy that hit it. I'm not sure his name was Julio,
Yeah.
but he must know. Yeah, it was, yeah.
I believe so.
Okay.
But what I do know is the guy on second base. That's my boy Ricky. Ricky Vetta from SA Law. They put him in on second. He needed to score, and the dude did it. And that is what allowed that drama to all play out, man. Super cool, man. And this is his last year with us. He's on Border Patrol. He's got other things that are going on, and so he had to – this is going to be his last year. But, man, they saw the value in his speed, and he got in there, and he made it happen, man. Such an awesome finish to the game, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, so the video shows it. You don't think those guys, like the guys, they cared as much as
Oh, yeah.
they cared.
Oh, yeah.
And the crowd was into it. Like as a tournament director, I'm like, holy smokes! I just
Yes.
this one literally like
Yes.
some games that, like, people like kind of leaving the field, and I felt kind of bad. And there was electric. So I don't know, like I don't want to force a special game every year. I want it to be like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, this year we're doing X, and next year we're going to force this down your throat. I want it to kind of happen. So this year kind of happened. I thought of the idea of the David versus Goliath. I'm always big into like little themes like that. We might not do one next year unless something pops up, but because when we do do them, I want them to be special. You know?
Yeah,
and
it's very cool. And
unless I have another heart attack, I'm being around for a while. So.
Well, this one was special. As long as you don't take that same medication they gave you the last time, which I'm sure you won't, we'll be all right. But I will say that it was very special. And I will say that in the end, I could see the intensity increasing as the game went on. And I mean, when you think about this, we're at the World Series. There's tons of drama with the final games, right? You know, playing for third place, playing for second place, ultimately, with the championship. It's that kind of drama that came with this game. And I thought that was really cool. So it was a great job, and it ended up turning out to be great. What do you got, Joe?
Yeah, with that video, you ended that video giving Dan a kiss, it looked like. I did kiss him. I want to say something about that. Not about the kiss, but about Dan McIntyre and him singing the national anthem, both Canadian and American.
Yep.
I don't know who knew about this, but I sure as hell didn't know about it. And that was a surprise, and I thought he did a really good job, honestly.
100%. That's what I told him at the end. That's what you heard at the end. I wasn't telling him a great job on the game. I was telling him a great job on the singing. And he said, that's what I love, man. I'm glad to do it. That's so cool, man. He did a great job.
Dan McIntyre was like the all-star of the weekend, just for everything he did, from his team playing well to him singing the national anthem. He's the guy that provided those jerseys for the all-star game. Mm-hmm. That guy was Mr. Everything. And when he said he could sing, because I was desperate to find a national anthem singer, and he said he could do it, I'm like, all right, it's a joke. And I
would be worried.
Before.
I would be worried.
I said to him, I said, what's your like, like what's your background? He goes, I do a lot of karaoke. Like, perfect. Like, we have 2,000 people out there and you're singing karaoke. And then he started off a little rough with the Canadian one. I'm like, oh, we got a problem. And then he nailed it, right?
Yeah, he reset. He reset.
Yeah,
and
he
was
did.
great at
And
it.
he nailed it.
He kept his composure. He kept his composure. He was like, all right. And then he started over. But that's Dan. Dan takes his shirt off at Joe's tournament, the St. Louis Show Me Classic. Dan takes his shirt off right from the beginning. Hair, a lot of hair. He has so many things going on, and he doesn't care, man.
There's nothing that bothers that guy. You can't rattle him. He did a great job.
And that makes him so special, especially when it comes to raising money for Special Olympics. So the guy's awesome.
Everything. That guy is the spirit of police softball. So
yep.
And so here's a little insider tip. I didn't know this. So that Northern Lawman team out of Canada, those guys were in both the teams, the Toronto team and Northern Lawman. They are so excited because those guys have not been in the World Series since 2019, only due to COVID. They would have come, but the country was locked down. So it's been like 3 years since they were last here. So the guys that are in the honor guard are actually members of the Northern Lawman softball team. And so we were talking to Luke as to who does it, and they said the newbies on the team always, that's their job, and they have to pack their uniform. They got to travel with that uniform and all that good stuff. And so when you're a new player on the team, part of the tradition is you are.
That's cool.
Series.
That's cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, check this out. So Maddie said the Northern Lawmen take pride in participating in the opening ceremonies. We've said it before, but never enough. Thank you for allowing us to play a role in it.
Yep.
That's cool. By the way, Maddie is the one that brought in 2016 when we won the World Series, and I was fortunate enough for my team to put me in a position to be able to hit that home run. Maddie was the one, class act, who brought that ball to me at the end of the game. He brought the home run ball. Wow. Dude is class act, because I'll tell you what, it's easy to be able to be pissed, to be able to be so competitive and everything else, and you're just wanting to, recover from it. That dude went and grabbed that ball, brought it to me, and I have a picture of it. He handed it to me, and I just think it's a class act, man. So, Maddie, thank you for that, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, and then
go ahead.
For them to participate like that's cool.
Those Northern Lawmen are great guys. Unfortunately, the Zingbot's got some venom for him next year, though. So he doesn't pull any punches. So he's got a few words for those guys.
All right. So what do we have now? We have what's next on the? Let's see. We had the home run derby. Oh, for the format for majors, mid majors, and gold. Is that what we're going to? Deanna, I know that there's pictures you're going to be showing throughout, but I think we can let Jeff talk about the format for majors, mid majors, and gold.
Okay, let's do it. So what I was going to do is I was just going to cover the results of those as I talked about the format. So
cool.
If you guys are willing to get into them, let's get into them.
Yep. All right.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So even though the majors and mid majors started first, I'll start with the gold and I'll work my way to the majors just out of.
Jeff is
gold is, first of all, the Swami Ball predicted Center Mass to win the gold division, and let's just say it like it is. He was right. The Center Mass won it, right? So Swami Ball did a very good job predicting the winners of gold. They got Center Mass was the top team out of Tampa Bay, so they get a national bump up next year. They have to go up to uppers, which could be majors or mid-majors, depending on the round robin. And then they beat a very stacked Midwest Heat team ran by Dan McIntyre. So I just want to comment on those two teams that matched up and went to an IF game. Those teams both played at a level that 10 years ago would have had them in the majors championship game. Our sport has evolved so much that, these guys are hitting laser beams in the gaps and great pitching. Center Mass, their pitcher throws probably the dirtiest pitch in police softball. He throws a sidearm pitch that, because the umpires are not like if I'm a pitcher, I want to emulate what he does, because the sidearm pitch, it's very discretionary. I'm not sure what the actual rules say, but I'm sure there's some kind of measurement or distance of how far away the ball can be released. But if you're a batter, you don't have like a ruler in, and then you got to hope the umpire's ruler is the same length as yours. So center mass is a really good team. That sidearm pitching, they played really good defense. They surprised me in the championship game when they blew through all their home runs in like the second inning. I knew it was over, going an if game. And then I thought the momentum switched to the Midwest team because Midwest played great. They have two pitchers that played really well. They played defense, bunch of timely hitting. But in the end, it was center mass that came through in one of the most exciting games for me as a tournament. And guys, I'm like, this is on Sunday, right? This is the last day. I'm exhausted and I'm like into the game. Like I came unglued, like watching this game. So I want to thank both those teams for, if nothing else, just like entertaining me because I got to be there all weekend, and I really enjoyed that final game. And then, so those were the final two teams there in the gold. You guys can comment.
So in the gold division, center mass champions, runner-ups, Midwest Heat, and the finalists, Sin City Saints.
So Sin City. So I had those guys in fourth, maybe third. I don't know. I think I nailed. I didn't. I had him third. I'm sorry. I had the first blank. Not me. The Swami. So the Swami had the Swami ball had the first and the third, but he had Detroit Metro's finest at number 2, and those guys were deep. 25 guys. Waxweiler, Pancake. They had Hall of Famers. They had former major champions, but I just think it was too much at once for that team, and they just didn't gel because they tapped out early, like, I don't know, tied for, 9th, 12th, something like that. But that Sin City Saints team did exactly what I thought. I thought they'd fly under the radar, and they got third. So, and I the Swami ball underestimated Midwest Heat. That's a very, very good team. Very good team. I don't know if they're going to have those same guys next year, but if they do, look out. I mean, they'll be the top gold team going into Vegas. Obviously, the center mass gets bumped up, but if they start winning early and they start winning tournaments, we reassess and they might get bumped up. But anyway, they're good. Yep.
Well, so I'll tell you what, Deanna, I know that while Jeff's talking about some of these finalists and results, ultimately we'll show some pictures. This is from things that took place during your tournament, Jeff. We'll roll some of these, Deanna, before we get to the silver recap, mid-majors, majors. These are some of the things that took place during your tournament. I think we have maybe Joe. I think Joe maybe. Oh, look at that, Joe. So see, although I know you won the home run derby at the Waxahachie tournament, here at the World Series, look at you. Was that a home run?
I'm not sure if it was, but that was on the first day based on the uniforms we were wearing, and I did decent hitting the ball that day.
He's he's lucky he wasn't called out for stepping out of the box. Joe's a cheater, and it's confirmed right there.
Let me. So obviously Jeff doesn't know the rule on the batter's box.
He heard about it, I'm sure, before the
you can step out.
ended.
You can step all the way to the green as long as your back foot is even with the front of the plate at the point of contact.
I'd like to see you do that, Joe. I'd like to see.
I'm not tall enough. I'm not tall enough to do that, but there may be some people that could.
All right, Deanna, let's roll through them. Let's go to the next one before we get to the there we go. So we have some pitching photos.
No, that's Suffolk. I want to talk about those guys later. That's why they're
all right. Cool.
Suffolk. Yep.
Oh, okay. So we have these sitting there. There's Manny. So Manny is my teammates. Started it when it was just me, Manny, and Eric, and we were trying to regroup, get our team together again. It was just us three, and then we recruited everybody that we have, since then. But Manny's last year was this year, and man, what a special dude, man. He was badass this year, and always has been. But he has his son, like a lot of us, man. We have things that come up, family, kids, and it's time to call it quits. And so this is his last year, but it was a great year. Let's see here. What do we got next, Deanna? All right. So this is right in front of the Onyx tent. This is our SA Law team picture with Los. So, and we're going to have a little video in a minute from Los, but let's keep going, Deanna. There we go. in Vegas at the Cadillac. I think it's a Cadillac bar over there in the Golden Nugget. And if you don't know, man, there's a lot of places to stay in Vegas, but this is the host hotel. And Jeff, you know, I'm sure you agree. Man, you can take a choice of where to stay all year long in Vegas. But when you stay at the host hotel, you run into everybody. And that's what we did on this night, man. We ran into people. We had some great times. And there was a Keepers of the Peace tournament shirt that was being worn there. And, man, that's just a cool thing to be able to hang out and see all these people. So I suggest staying at the Golden Nugget and book early because you'll run out of rooms quickly, man. You got to get it. Every year, Jeff, I'm sure you get it too. Hey, man, are there any more rooms? Can you work something out? And it's like, man, the guy puts it out so early in the year. Book then, don't wait. Let's see, what else we got? Oh, there we go. So, hey, man, there's a lot of camaraderie that goes on. There's Vlad presenting a shirt to Worm and his wife. You know, I'll tell you, man, if you keep going through it, Deanna, we'll just go through it quickly so that we can keep it going. There's Karina and Audrey. Karina Martin's there. Yeah, those are the guys from the celebration, the winners when it comes to the majors division. Y'all know who they are. Let's keep going through that. There we go. So if you look at all these pictures that are coming up right here, Jeff, this is all because you guys put the effort into the the tournament, everything that goes on off the field that happens before the tournament takes place, man. This is such a great thing. Look at that, man. Great experiences right there. Dude, I'm telling you. Very, very cool. So I know we're Bobby Lambert. So goes without saying, man. Legend. The dude never gets out, it seems like. And I was very, very fortunate that Bobby allowed me to be able to sign that bat, in his memory. That's at the opening ceremonies. We're all waiting to experience the opening ceremonies, the final game, and fortunate enough to be able to sign that man's bat. I asked him, please come back and visit, if nothing else, and he said he would. He said here and there he'd pop up because you never want to see that dude, people like him, not be in the circuit again. So that was really cool. Yeah, man. What do you think, Jeff? Some cool pictures.
All those great photos, great memories, the whole bit. I'm going to miss Bobby. He's been there since 2005 too. So it's sad for me when I see my entire peer group kind of aging out of police softball, because I was a player. Most guys don't know it. For 10 years, I never missed a single game for the SoCal Alliance softball team. And then when I retired from softball, I just watched all my guys gradually age out, and there's only a few left. So I like seeing guys still stay involved. It's just when you get to be 50 plus and you don't have a role on a team anymore, it's expensive to go, just hang out. I mean, some guys are still doing it. I appreciate it, but at the same time, it makes you feel pretty mortal, when you see these, literally there's guys out there that are young enough to be my children that are playing softball now, which is great. I mean, we got to pass the torch on. It can't go on forever. But anyway, yeah. So I was back to the tournament. I was really happy with the gold division was electric, and then came mid majors, and that was electric. So
real quickly before we go there.
Oh, silver.
Comment on this one, Jeff. Hold on real quick. Let's see. What about this one from Jamie Bailey? Bet no one had United KC in fourth.
No. Yeah. So they played they're generally in single digits when it comes to the end of the year, but so I consider in the big divisions, majors, mid majors, gold. If you're in the five or below, top five or below, that's a very, very good showing in my opinion. Because that's just a hit or two away from, becoming a championship and stuff like that. So if you walk away fifth or better, you had a good tournament. So, and United KC, it's their best showing yet. And, I got some, I found out they have more than just Brad Johnson on the team. I thought it was a one-man team, but I went and got some. I can confirm there's 9 other guys on the team.
All right, so let's move on. Got the silver recap.
Silver. Yeah, silver is one of those divisions where, like, it's a bittersweet because almost always there's a really good team that has a bad 2 playoff games that drops to silver, and I really want silver to be truly the silver teams because there are some teams that are truly silver teams out there. And inevitably, what happens is a good gold team has a bad showing, they drop to silver, and they smash everybody. So this year, that team was Norseman, and they, at least like we say, if you're dealt lemons, a bag of lemons, they made lemonade, and they went out and they did what they were supposed to do, and they won. And they played some really challenging teams. That J-Cats team is very good. That's a team with a bunch of like veterans, like Eric Kent and Abel Tenorio from NorCal. These John Coster. These are guys that the Hall of Famers and stuff like that. And Norseman beat them, but at the same time, like I don't view Norseman necessarily as a silver team. So, but it is what it is. I mean, it's you come to Vegas and you get a tough draw and you end up in silver. I don't expect them to roll over, and they did what they did. They won, and they did what they're supposed to be, and they got more softball out of it. So they went, 0-2 or 1-2 in the playoffs, and then they rolled off 4 wins in a row to win silver. So
very cool. So we had let's see, silver. Okay, runner-ups, J-Cats, and finalists, the Toronto Takedown.
Yep, it's great having those guys back. Like I said, they were literally like happy to be there. I mean, these guys were locked out, like they didn't have the ability to even play softball because of COVID, and just having them there was it's great to have those guys. They've been coming for at least 10 years. So
very cool. All right, so let's go on to the mid-majors.
Okay, so this one, every division was just electric. So mid-majors came down. The final game was someone's San Antonio Law team who was I remember asking Trini on, it was a Friday or whatever, Saturday. I'm like, how'd you guys do? He goes, whoever we lost. He goes, we lost, like whatever it means to lose to every team. That's what we did. So something along those lines. There was some comment about like losing every game. He goes, just whoever you put up against, we lost.
Yeah, you were like, hey, who did you lose to? I said, hey, first 4 games, doesn't matter. We lost them. So
yeah, I'd say something along those lines. Like we lost them all. So it just doesn't.
We lost them all, so don't worry. You were trying to fill out the brackets and everything, and you were like, hey, did you lose? I was like, whoever we were scheduled to play, we lost.
That's what it was.
So there should be no mystery.
I was trying to do for the seeding, and like at the time, I felt like oh man, these guys are done. Like just felt defeated. Just having a bad run. And then you guys caught fire, and you can talk about that. I'll let you talk about your own team. But the team you were going up against was the undefeated team, which is the Colorado Angel Armor. And those guys, they won gold just as your team did. So this was like 2 years ago, they won gold. They got promoted to majors. They did really well in the West Conference. They got all the way to the championship game and narrowly lost to the LA Blue. Joe, I know they did something really good in your tournament, or maybe Trini's tournament, where they ended up almost beating Great Lakes.
They finished third. They finished third in St. Louis, almost making it to the championship game. That was a game that they were up by about 10 in the final inning. Great Lakes came back and beat them, but they were that close to making the championship game in St. Louis.
So this was a team that in 2018, in their first World Series, asked me if women could play on the team because they didn't have enough men to play. This is no joke. And so in 2018, they got beat up. 2019, they win it. Like, where'd that come from? We promote them. They're in majors, mid-major. 2020, we were dark. 2021, they're in majors, mid-majors, did whatever they did. And this year they came up and they end up, Trini, unfortunately, winning majors. But what are the odds on 2 teams that were both former gold division winners promoting up the ranks? This is what you do, is you get better, and then meeting in the championship game in mid-majors. How awesome is that? I don't know, Trini, if you put any thought into that, but
extremely awesome.
Yeah. And
these guys have showed up to our tournament. They always put on a great performance. I love watching them. I didn't enjoy watching them against us. But I'll tell you this, the thing that I really liked about those dudes is just, and I will give our team, I don't talk very much about our team. I don't know. It's kind of weird for me. It's kind of like talking about myself. It's a little bit weird, but I will say that both our teams, such composure, to be able to, to battle the way that we did, especially in that final game. In particular, our team, I will say that, we lost 0-4, right? First three in round robin, first one in double elimination. So people would say possibly, sometimes it comes up like, oh, they're sandbagging. Hey, man, I'll tell you what, no team wants to go 0-3 and then at a minimum start their first game in the double elimination with a loss. And so, we did that. And the cool thing is that our team, when we got together at the end, we said, like, here's the way I look at it. It's kind of like a boxing match because I associate everything to boxing. I boxed the majority of my life. And I said, man, if somebody comes out, a professional boxer comes out, and they lost their fourth round to points, they don't go to their corner and that their coach goes or their trainer goes, hey, man, look, you're already down 4. What's the use? Let's just pack it up and let's just go home. Nobody does that. You can't be a champion boxer and do that. What you do is you go in 4 rounds down. Your trainer goes, all right, look, man, we got to switch something up. We got to do something different. Maybe it's mental, maybe it's physical. I don't know. But let's just make a change and let's just concentrate on the next round. Don't worry about the championship rounds. Let's just concentrate on the next round. Let's just win the next round. And that's all that matters. But if you come out and you're hanging your head like a defeated boxer, dude, you shouldn't even be in these championship rounds. You shouldn't even be in these championship fight. Along with a few other things, choice words, we ended up making things happen. And it turned the mentality around and we were able to make that roll through. We got to that championship against these dudes. And man, both of us, great composure. And I tell my team all the time, I really don't care about the end result. What I care about is the fight. I care about you guys not just throwing in the towel. I care about you guys on the bench, making sure that you are supporting every single batter that goes up at every bat. Don't sit in the dugout in between innings. When these guys are out on the field, let's get out on the field. And I told them, I said, how many times do you see me sitting on the bench? I don't. I may not play 2 or 3 games. I'm still out there every time with you guys in the sun. In the heat. I mean, I'm there with you. I don't sit back there like it's, like I'm not in the game. I'm in the game every time. And it did make a difference. But I will say this, these guys, Angel Armor at the championship game, there's a lot of, nobody wants to give it up. They had the hammer. And it was tough. There was a couple of innings, a lot of discussion, a lot of things that are going on. Those poor umpires. If there's somebody that deserves credit when it comes to these games, it's the umpires. I mean, man, these guys, man, they got to deal with a lot of stuff out there. They compose themselves, a lot of controversy, a lot of discussion, but in the end, it all panned out. Those guys had the upper hand. They got they earned their way to to having the hammer, and then it paid off at the end. But man, kudos to Angel Armor and to our team for being able to, make it a very interesting, very entertaining, and well-deserved championship game.
It was. Thanks. So once again, I want to thank you because, like I said, I've been out there. I think that you guys went to an IF game too, didn't you, Trini? Did you guys go to an IF game? No, it wasn't an IF game. Okay.
I don't think so. It was the first game, but it was 9 innings.
They went innings.
That's right. Yeah, 9 innings. That's what it was.
It was like, once again, like I'm on the edge of my seat. It was like going back and forth. We're the ninth inning. It was just like, it was amazing. It was so much fun. And I just can't say enough good things about both teams because I'm taking pictures, right? So I can hear the dugout chatter. And it was the spirit of police softball is what you want it to be. There was nobody bad mouthing the other guys or bad mouthing each other. It was truly like, it was about softball and it was about respecting the other team. I really enjoyed those two teams battling it out. So congrats to both you guys.
Yep. Thank you.
How many straight wins did it take you to get to the championship? Was that 7?
Oh man. All I know is we went back on our amazing. One day.
7 straight.
One day we went for the opening ceremonies. We played one game at 10:30 at night. And then if you won that one, you had to come back the next day at 8. We played from 8 to 8. That's all I remember. That's all I remember, man.
That's
it was a challenge.
Man. That's an impressive run.
Cool. We're getting that loser bracket early in Vegas.
No. But that was cool, man. It was very cool. So we had mid-majors. We had Angel Armor as the champions, runner-up San Antonio Law. and ultimately the finalists, the Northern Lawmen.
Yeah, I love those guys. Like I said, I've already said enough good things about those guys.
Yep.
You keep in mind, Trini. Did you guys eliminate those guys? Did you guys beat them?
Yes. Yes. So
Oh
I
my
remember.
God!
Trust me, it was a
That-
recap of our 2016 game, and they scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, you guys, because you guys beat them in the gold division years ago in the
Yeah.
championship, right? Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah. Yeah.
gosh! All
Oh,
right,
trust me, I was thinking about that when we got there,
okay.
and we
So
had
you
played
already
all
know,
those
you
games
know the
already.
way I think, right? I'm devious, right? So you know you're going to see them in the round robin next year. They
Yep.
they want a shot at you in the
Oh
round
yeah.
robin.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And you know what? What's cool is I also noticed, Jeff and Joe, is as you get into those final teams, the fans are there. Like, man, they're the wives, girlfriends, significant others, they are in your ear. I mean, you go up to bat against Angel Armor, man, they're there and they're in your ear. Same thing with SA Law. We got our wives, we got our significant others. You go up to bat against us, especially towards the championship rounds, man, you better be able to block that stuff out because they're there.
Right.
It's pretty neat, man. They were the wives and the significant others definitely come into play. So that was pretty
Yep.
cool. So we had the mid majors. So now we've got the
Majors.
majors recap. Let's try that.
Okay, so the majors. So keep in mind, to get to the majors, you had to be, one of the top 16 teams. As a result, either you had a berth already, top 8, or you had to earn your way in. So the best of the best. The first team I want to talk about didn't make the final numbers, whatever, but it's Suffolk. So Suffolk
Oh yeah.
Lawmen. So these
Yep.
were the guys that, like, honestly, their World Series history has not been pristine as far as wins and losses. They're a good team. They were a team that was on the bubble. I said, hey, man, if I get these guys down to gold this year, they could actually have a nice run. And as things happen, they picked up some younger players. I said, well, they're probably too good for gold. I'm hoping they end up in mid-majors. Well, these guys go out and they kick butt in the round robin beat, and they end up 2-1, and they end up in majors. And as a result, they draw the number 1 team in the nation, LAPD Blue, the two-time defending world champions. And
Yeah.
I could go on and on about the LA Blue, right? They're like 22 guys deep. All of them play conference ball, professional softball players. I mean, they're really
Great mustaches.
right. You know these guys, right? So they're like,
Great
oh
mustaches.
my gosh, you go. So then I'm thinking, oh God, it's going to be a bloodbath or whatever. Like LA Blue is going to score 50 runs, and we're going to be backed up, because there's no time limit. We're going to be backed up 2 hours. So I turned the tournament over to Big Tone to finish it out for the last 2 games of the night, and I get a text: Suffolk over LA Blue. I'm like, I go, haha, like really, like. So here, and I don't know if this is true or not, but this is a fact of what I heard. And if it's not true, just roll with it because it's a good story. So Suffolk beat LAPD Blue. So the 32nd ranked team, the lowest ranked you could be, ends up being the number 1 ranked team in the.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Knock LA Blue into the loser bracket. And my understanding is when they walked into Cadillac, which is that Mexican restaurant that you showed a picture of earlier, the teams that were there had already received word of this because, people text and stuff. And when they walked in there, all the teams gave them a standing ovation, which is the stood up.
Good seeing. Cool,
So
man.
the next day I see the Suffolk guys, and I was Gilliam, the coach, and I said, hey man, if you guys don't win another game in the rest of the World Series, you guys won.
Yeah.
You guys made it work. And unfortunately, guess who they drew next? The number 2 ranked team in the nation, Great Lakes, in Great Lakes, Scotland. But it's close. I was just talking to Jay-Z Zintac today. He's like, it was like a 6-run game because it was back and forth. They're a good team. So
yeah,
hats off to those guys. So that's the team.
Well, here's the thing I like. It's like, it's not a knock against the Blue, right? LAPD Blue. It's actually a compliment to a degree because LAPD Blue, everybody knows them. Everybody knows, man. It's like when we came to the World Series in 2013. The way it fell was we played Shamrocks. It was Shamrocks. Like, I think they were defending champions or at least runner-ups. And then we played like the defending champions. Man, that was our baptism into the World Series. And I thought we were like, SA Law was like, dude, in Texas? Come on, man. everybody was like, nah, man, you got to team up. You got to combine, whatever. We went to the World Series, man, we got to hand it to us. Like seriously handed to us. And it was like, man, this is a whole nother level. When you play the LAPD blue, when you draw the LAPD blue, I mean, it's expected. When a team can come down, especially, has that ever happened before, Jeff?
I
The
don't
lowest,
know of any time 32 beat a 1. Never.
I'm telling you, man, it's crazy. And so,
Not in the World
everybody
Series.
has their off days. And the thing that I would say is this. It just goes to show any team on any given day. Doesn't mean that that's the way it's going to end up, but
Right.
any team on any given day. And man, that was crazy. And I can imagine everybody applauding, not against LAPD, but just for the accomplishment of beating such a high class, high caliber team. I could see that standing ovation happening.
That
Yeah,
team
very
Texas
cool.
versus SoCal back some years ago. What was that? What were those rankings? I think SoCal was number 1. SoCal Alliance.
That was my team. That's what I was still around. Yeah, and Texas. I don't
They
know
were
if they were
probably like
32.
15
They
or
were
something.
down. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
down there though. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was another one, a big upset, and then so we ended up winning a bunch of games and getting to the championship. I think that's the time Great Lakes might have beat us, but that's when I was still playing. But,
On that note with SoCal, check this out. Did you take home your SoCal shirt with you, Trini? Absolutely, I did. I got a championship shirt from Chris. I'm gonna respect everybody's name. Chris
we
Olabadi.
call him Yuli.
Ulibarri. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yuli.
He's my
Man,
boy. He's one of the original 4 horsemen. Me, Dell,
dude.
Co, and Yuli. That's your 4.
So
That's your 4 original Alliance guys.
he gave me a shirt, and it was so special. I mean, I'm telling you, I've had quite a few shirts, and man, I'm trying to think of the year of the shirt. I can't remember right now. I'm in Costa Rica at the pool. I can't remember the year for sure, but I think it was, man, I want to say it was 16 or 18. I'm not sure, but I got that shirt, and I will wear it on the next show. But thank you very much for that shirt, man. That I absolutely did take it home, man. That was cool. Jeff, I've had a couple of the SoCal Alliance championship shirts, man. Very
Yeah.
honored to be able to have those, man.
That was
Yeah,
a good
very
ride,
cool.
man. That was my that was my life. That team was my life, and so I want to kind of because I don't want to dwell on anything negative, but I do want to
Yeah.
say that that Alliance team, I lived for that team. I didn't miss a game for 10 years, the whole bit, and eventually Dell and I had to separate ourselves from the team because the World Series itself got so big that
I'm sure.
we couldn't do both, right? We couldn't run
Yeah.
the team and run the World Series and not have there be a specter of like Homer, right? Like, hey, these guys are protecting their boys. So ultimately what happened and why the team had to break up was because we were in a no-win situation. Dell and I were no longer running the team. We turned the team over to Co and Mick, and they had Snyder, and they had Yuli, and they had all these guys on the team, Harriman and stuff like that. But it put Dell and I in a bad position because all the other teams thought that we were still favoring the Alliance, where interestingly enough, the Alliance guys thought that we were working like overcompensating by not favoring them. So we were losing on both ways because they would say, oh, Dell and Jeff got us whatever, because they want to separate themselves from us, they're going out of their way to rule against us or to give us bad times or something. And the other guys were doing the opposite. So unfortunately, so this thing came up this year as I got a snarky comment on Facebook about me somehow favoring the LAPD blue. Let me put it out there right now. I don't know many of those guys on the LAPD. The one guy that I know very well is a good friend of mine. Is Mike Snyder, who was an Alliance guy. The other guys, I've never played with those guys before. So, and then purely from a business point of view, so one of the comments was if it was the LA Blue in the championship game, there would have been more video pictures or something along those lines. Listen, if I'm going to favor a team, like just because of my buddies, like I know more guys on that DEA team. Those are the old, they're little 50-year-old. They're my guys. It's like Danny Wells, Chris Ulibarri, Nate Baez. These are guys that I played with. Those LA Blue, the young guys, I've never played with those guys before. And then purely from a business model, like it does, like why would anybody running a tournament want the same team to win it every year? Like I've won it. I want other, like it's a great thing. You've won it, right?
Yeah.
I want everybody to enjoy. It got so bad at the end when I was still with the Alliance and winning. I felt guilty if we win it because I want somebody else to
Yeah.
experience what I experienced before. So of course, I'm not wanting the same team to win every year. So two things came up that I want to address. Number one is there's a guy on the team, and I'm going to name by name because it's not a bad thing. Buddy Lundy. Buddy Lundy's one of the best softball players in the nation. Everyone thinks that he should not be allowed to be a police softball player because he's a firefighter. That is incorrect. Buddy Lundy is a correctional officer employed by the California Department of Corrections who's assigned to the fire detail. If you work inside of a prison, they can't have an independent fire department who's not correctional officers come in there and do the fire stuff, right? So it's a position that would be like me saying that Justin Witt for Louisville Metro is not a cop because he's assigned to professional standards and doesn't do police work anymore. He's assigned to a desk job. He's still a cop. Buddy Lundy's still a correctional officer. Interestingly enough, there are two other players, I think one of them's on the Enforcers, that have the same exact position that Buddy has, and nobody cares about those other players. So why is that? Likely because he's on the LA Blue and they're one of the best teams in the nation, right? And then secondly, they've got a player who I will not name by name because it involves internal affairs, who's been on administrative leave. He is not the only player that was on administrative leave this year. I would say at least a dozen players had to run it through me because the bottom line is if you get in trouble at work, it could be you got an officer-involved shooting and it needs to be cleared. It could be that you crashed a car in an unauthorized pursuit. As long as you are still employed by the agency as a police officer probation, you're still good to go.
Yeah, that's still under investigation. No final judgment has taken place. And if some final judgment took place that puts your credibility at risk and you're no longer employed by a police, well, then that'll make a difference. But if
Correct.
it's still under investigation, none of us want to be held to that.
Thank you very much. So
nobody should have an issue with that.
And this particular guy, it's been years. Like this is unheard of. So I even felt uncomfortable. I said, I'm going to put this out to the competition committee. Joe's on it. Joe, you're on it, right?
I'm on.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not make the decision to allow him to play. Who made the decision to allow him to play? I'm asking you, Joe.
Well, if you're talking about when you sent it out to the group and we voted on it.
Yeah. What was the vote?
Well, the vote obviously was yes because he played.
What was the split?
I don't remember the split, to be honest.
It was unanimous.
I don't remember.
Nobody said he shouldn't play based on the facts we had at hand.
So, and that's what's important is that, look, man, you got to understand this. For anyone that's out there listening, this goes from my tournament, Joe's tournament, or any other director's tournament, to include Jeff with the World Series. We do the best we can. Man, we're not ESPN. We don't have analysts. We're not sitting here trying to say we're the shit when it comes to making these types of decisions. We're providing an opportunity for us to get together, enjoy each other's company. We enjoy the camaraderie with the sport we love, and we try our best. And that's the biggest thing that I can say is, man, we're just doing our best. And I will say that the reason that I do what I do with my tournament, with the exception of the wild card player, I follow all the PS.com rules. Why? Jeff and I don't talk, never been to dinner, never really been on many conversations on the phone. But I understand that this thing's been going on for a long time and everybody's cool with it. So in order to avoid any issues, plus I realize we're all working towards the World Series. If I can follow those same rules, use the same balls, same kind of bat provided type mentality, well then we can show up to Vegas, and when people come to my tournament, it just makes it easier on me because this has been tested. It's been tested, man. These guys have already tried everything. They've already entertained a lot of stuff. Now there are new things that are coming up, that can be addressed. But in the end, when it comes to the qualifications, man, I copy and paste from the World Series. And Jeff, I'm going to tell you, I mean, we all do this. I mean, the tournament that I put on in Waxahachie, the Keepers of the Peace National Softball Championship, to include Joe's tournament, the St. Louis Show Me Classic. Dude, this isn't some serious moneymaker. We do this because we genuinely care about our camaraderie and we enjoy providing for people. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind as we talk about this, as we try our best. It's a work in progress. Things come up. But in the end, when it comes to qualifications, I've had so many questions come up in my tournament about, hey, can this guy play? Hey, what about this guy? And you know what this guy's are? I got one right now, Alex Ford. There was an exception made for him, but it went through the competition committee. Who's the competition committee? A bunch of volunteers who agree to try to help us kind of zero in on something that we can at least try to keep it fair. That's the best thing we can do. So on that note, I that's why I copy and paste a lot from the World Series.
Right. So I appreciate that. And like I said, I lean on the competition committee, but ultimately, like when somebody doesn't like something, they want to put it on me. And like the competition committee is supposed to be a representation of all of you. So that's why there's a guy from John Irvin from New Jersey. There's somebody from Florida, Dennis Leonard. There's somebody from NorCal. There's somebody from Kansas. There's somebody from all over the country. So when we make a decision, it's like, I'm not making this in a vacuum, right? And most of the times I don't even have to, like in these decisions, I don't have to vote. I see what it's unanimous. They're going this way, or it's, 8-4 or whatever it is like that. But anyway, long story short is I don't want to keep dwelling upon that because I'll get back to the major. We're on LA Blue and we're going to talk about the next because although they got knocked into the loser bracket, they played really well and they ended up winning their way just like you did, Trini, all the way back until the third place game when they got derailed by Great Lakes. And what a matchup. You have the number one West team against the number one East team. You got two of the best pitchers in the nation going head to head. You got Habig going against Biscuit. Great game. But I do think that Suffolk knocking LA Blue and, basically, you played that many games, your legs are a little tired. You're not covering the ground. That was a difference maker, and Great Lakes took advantage of it, and Great Lakes did what they should have done, and they beat them. So hats off to the Great Lakes because they ended up defeating LAPD Blue and eliminating them, finishing third, which set them up against the Connection, which, in my opinion, is I've always really liked their program. I like everything they do. I think I call them the excellence of execution because they play the game so well. Watching that championship game between the Connection and Great Lakes was literally watching a chess match. And I want to go back in time real quick.
That's cool.
Joe's team, a shout out. Joe, I had you guys after round robin in the top, maybe winning this thing. I like what you've done with the team. I like that. I don't know who your pitcher is. That guy's really good. And I was worried about pitching, and that's been your problem in the past. Who pitched for you?
Matt Small, and he's from Southern Missouri. He's pitched CB, U-Trip all. He's really good with the glove up the middle, and he was a big pickup for our team this year.
Yeah, so he won the MVP, year, right?
He was the MVP in Waxahachie for that tournament.
Yeah, he wasn't there last year, right?
He was one of the new guys we picked up this year.
So that was kind of my knock on your team. Is I always thought you guys needed a better pitcher, and I see this guy go, these guys are going to win this thing because that guy can pitch. So anyway,
Jeff,
that's off.
Jeff,
yeah. Yep.
Do you know that Joe pitched previously before that?
That's why
did you even consider that Joe is a co-host on the podcast?
He's a good hitter.
And
he's really good at hitting.
He's a good, and he has a great personality.
Trini, yes, I was pitching, and yes, I went out and got another pitcher to take my spot.
He's a good hitter. He's a good hitter. I'm not. I just saying when you get to the majors, you got to be an out. You got to live for pitching. And you got to have a couple screws loose too. You know what I mean? Those pitchers are great. Yeah. So anyway, LA Blues out now. We got Great Lakes against the Connection. I tell you, the Connection. I can't say enough good things about these guys. I've always predicted to be right there in the top, and I'm so glad to see these guys finally win it because it was a chess match. The way these guys execute, everything about these guys, defense, pitching, base running, situational home run hitting. And on top of all that, these were all really, really good guys. Everyone loves them. They travel the nation. I was a little not me, but who was it? The Swami was a little down on this year because they didn't get out as much as they usually did. So you said, hey, maybe they're not going to be as, firing on all cylinders. Whatever the case, the Swami was wrong. Great. They ended up beating Great Lakes in a great game. Both those teams played outstanding. It was just it wasn't even errors. It's a double play that could have been turned that wasn't turned. Maybe it's just a slow. Like when you get to that level, you can afford
finer things.
Yeah, no margin.
It's
for
the finer things,
right? It's like, hey, we still got an out, but
yeah.
it would have been a double play, and that's the
I
difference.
believe that happens with there's like fundamental stuff. Like, I mean, it really get to those fundamentals. Like, it's just one little small thing that most teams would be happy with. But man, when you get to that level, you can. That's why all year long, even if you're in a tournament that maybe doesn't have as much competition, you're stressing the fundamentals, and what you're saying is, dude, if we do this in Vegas against a majors team, there's no way. You can't give them that. You give them that couple of plays in a game. That's all it takes for them to be able to get that, because they know they have a chance. You know, you got to be firing on all cylinders.
And I always try to go back and like be like, hey, what would I recommend to make this team better or do better? Like with those two teams right there, Connection and Great Lakes, I can't offer anything to these guys. They're doing it all right. It's just make sure you execute. Like, and I'm not even saying make sure you execute above your ability. Like I said, there was one play. It was like it could have been a double play if they'd have turned it a little bit quicker, and it led to like 4 runs. There was no errors. It was like executed better than I could have ever executed in the best of my career, and the guy just beat it out. It's like, well, but if it had been like if they would have done a little bit quicker, that would have been a double play to end the inning. That's that like. I can't give any like recommendations like, hey, turn the double play faster. These guys need to do nothing different with their teams. They're perfect. Yeah. They just need to go out and give it another shot. So anyway, that was great.
So we had the champions with the Connection, runner-ups, Great Lakes, and the finalists, LAPD Blue. Is what we had there in the majors division.
Yep.
So now we're talking about the 2023 dates. What do we got?
So I'll try to make it quick. I know we're getting a little long in this podcast, but
it's okay.
So the World Series is always the second weekend of October. So Joe, pull up your calendar. Do you have a calendar there or something you can look at?
Pull up a calendar here.
Pull up a calendar. You tell me what you think the second weekend of October is. Pull it up and I'll keep talking. So long story short,
I would say the 14th, 15th.
That's what I would say too, but that's not what Big League Dream says. Big League Dream says the second weekend is the weekend before that because the first weekend of October is September 30th and October 1st. So as a result of that, I initially put out some wrong dates saying it's going to be like 13, 14, or it's actually, so the World Series actually be October, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that. Does that look right?
Yep, 5, 6, 7, 8. You got it.
Okay. So my apologies for that. The bottom line is
it's going to be a little bit earlier than normal.
It's a little bit earlier because they're counting that 30th and 1st is the first weekend, and they control everything.
We're going to have to continue to reiterate that because it will throw people off. They're used to being a little bit later in the year, but we'll do a great job with the podcast, I'm sure with the message board. We're going to have to put it out there, but yet you guys know, like running a team, you can tell them all day long. But in the end, you've got to keep reiterating it. So we'll do that. We'll make it happen. So, Deanna, if you don't mind, make a note of that so that way on our next podcast on the off season, we'll be able to announce that, make sure that everybody gets those dates.
So that's the World Series. And then on the message board on policesoftball.com, I'm asking other tournament directors to put their dates on there once they're confirmed so people can start planning their vacations.
Which mine is always on the weekend closest to September 11th.
Yeah.
September 10th.
Yours is
September 9th. September 9th.
Is it Friday, Saturday? Is it going to be Friday, Saturday?
It's always Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
So yours is going to be
Thursday.
Yours is going to be September 8th and 9th. Yeah. The Show Me Classics is going to be August 5th and 6th. The New York tournament's going to be July 15th and 16th. So we actually got a 3-week gap this year between the New York and the St. Louis tournament, so guys will be able to attend both if they want to.
Cool. So on that note, we're going to talk about those tournaments, the Elite 8. Let's finish it up with that.
So I'm going to try to speed things up. It's getting long. Here's what it is. So at the World Series every year, we have 16 teams that go to majors, and I used to preordain teams. And this past year, we said, hey, we're going to take 8 teams and make those ones the preordained teams, and everybody else got to win their way in. So next year, and we use the rankings to do that. Next year, 2023, we're going to have the Elite 8. and the Elite Eight is going to be based on tournament finishes. So the defending majors champions are already guaranteed next year to be one of the Elite Eight, which means they'll play in majors next year in the World Series. And we'll give them an incentive like of a choice of a game time or something like that, whatever's available, and not ridiculous. And then also the mid-majors champion, Angel Armor, because they're bumping up, they have to play in majors at least for just like what Stanislav did. So they're going to be the Elite Eight. That leaves 6 tournaments at large. And what we're going to do is I'm trying to kind of like I want to build it like to where it's like a truly circuit to where like people travel to all these like 7 tournaments, right? The 6 plus the World Series and then whatever else they can do locally too. But in doing so, the winner of the DEA kickoff in California, well, we'll start in DEA kickoff in usually February, March. So that'll be a West Coast tournament. Whoever wins that will get one of the Elite Eight. Whoever wins the Scolo tournament, which is usually in March, April?
Second weekend in April.
Right, so that's an East Coast, Southeast, right? Then whoever wins the East Conference Championships in New York, right? So now we're Northeast. Whoever wins the West Conference Championships in San Diego, so now we're South, the South again. And then the last 2 are going to be the center of the country, and that would be St. Louis and Waxahachie toward the end of the year. And those teams will be what we call the Elite Eight, means they won, these tournaments. And they're guaranteed when they come to Vegas, they don't have to worry about dropping down into mid-majors. They can play their subs. There's a lot of leverage in there. Now, they might not want to because they want to get a better seed ultimately. Doesn't guarantee them a better seed, but there'll be some perks to it. And what I'm hoping that does, it creates a sense of like when teams are like, hey, we really need to go to Waxahachie and try to win one of those bursts. Or we need to go to St. Louis, or we need to go to New York and try to win one of those bursts. It would be nice to have, to be called one of the Elite Eight. And we'll start marketing it somehow. Like there's going to be like something to do. Like if you make the Elite Eight, that's a big deal at the end of the year. You're one of the. It might not mean come World Series time. You might go 0-2. I can't control that, but I mean at least going into it, you're going to be Elite Eight.
Nice.
What do you guys thoughts on that?
I think.
I think it's a great idea, number one, and I think you mentioned that if by chance you maybe a team, because there's always a team that wins more than one tournament every year, and if you got a Great Lakes or you got an LAPD Blue that win 2, or SenCal wins one and they already got one of the 8 berths, I think you're going to fill that in with another top team or something.
We'll just drop down into the rankings, like who's the next best team that didn't win a tournament this year. And it's no different than all I did this year was I just took the 8 that I thought would play the best this year plus the mid majors champ, and I just said okay, so it would just fall down to the same format we've been using. So
I like having that, and it's something that teams can look forward to. I think to maybe take a little pressure off in the beginning of their World Series, you know what I mean? Because they're not worried about making it. You already got a spot. You're not one of those teams fighting for one of the last 8 spots like we did this year. You know what I mean? And we're trying to bust our ass in the pool play, so we know that we got one of those final 8 spots. Exactly
what I want, and I also want teams to like, hey, make these tournaments a priority. Like, let's get out and like instead of doing a civilian tournament, let's go to Waxahachie, or let's go to St. Louis, or let's go to the Florida. And put the team on a plane, and I get it. I mean, it's all driven by money and stuff like that. But if guys can really focus on those, and then at the same time, Joe, what I'm hoping is guys will make the players on the team will make it a priority. Like, hey, these tournaments are the ones we need to have our full squad at. Yep. I really like that.
So, no, I
and that's what I think. I think that something that we could work out as tournament directors with each other to be able to create that incentive. I don't know what it is. We haven't figured that out. But I think it would still be a good thing to be able to do because, I think that everybody has their focus on the World Series. Everybody does. So if there's a way that we can try to make something happen where when you show up, it's like, man, it's not just, I don't know, the birth into the majors. Maybe there's something that we can do collectively. Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea. We'll talk about it later, but I just think that there's something that we could probably do that could collectively make something like really.
Well, Trini froze up, but I'll follow up with what he's saying.
And have to attend, able to,
Trini, you're freezing up, bud.
Good, Joe.
But I was going to say, I'm going to say that, I get what you're saying, but I think this is the first step in the right direction as far as bringing all these tournaments together and to focus on, getting to the World Series and making them mean something for the, the final destination of the year. You know what I mean? And and having this Elite Eight, I think, is the first step in that direction. I like it. I like the idea.
So I'm going to ask everybody out there who's watching this to kind of brainstorm. I also want to make it an incentive for the gold teams that aren't going to be Elite Eight. But at the same time, many of the tournaments, because they're not as big as the World Series, the teams that win the gold division are often majors teams that get bumped down, like New York. I'm not going to imagine if South. I'm trying to think of it like Trini. If you go to your tournament and somehow you guys play poorly, you bump down into gold and you win the gold. Well, I'm not going to have you the number one gold seed come Vegas time. You're still playing in mid majors.
Yeah.
So just put some thought into what happens to the teams that also, because I want to. I want something to be out there for the gold teams that win these tournaments too.
Yeah.
It might be the highest gold team or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think what needs to happen, and I know we're at an hour and 45 minutes, but yet we still have a lot of viewers. Well, but we still have a lot of viewers. They're interested. My thing is I think we come together as these Elite Eight type tournaments and be able to talk, maybe a group kind of conference call or something, spend a little time and talk about it, see what we can come up with. I think collectively we can come up with something that will really make it that everybody will want to participate, because there's something there that when it comes to the World Series, it'll pay off. And you would like to think that it doesn't have to come down to that, but in the end, I mean, people are competitive and they want to be able to try to, and I just think it'd be something we can definitely talk about and come together with multiple minds and make something cool happen. So anyway, I think but I like the idea, and the first step in the right direction when it comes to that. It's going to take a little more conversation, but I'm excited about it. So
we got the ball rolling. It's going to happen this year. And then like I said, this is just I just kind of hatched the idea and I said, let's roll. So I contacted all the directors. They were all in, and let's see where it goes. But I want to make it better. I really like the idea of this circuit where you win this one and then you go to this one and then you go to this one, and maybe teams play in three of realistically, you play in 3 of the 8 tournaments or whatever like that. And, I don't know. I just like it.
Well, no, I like it. And like I said, when we sit and talk, I mean, it's expensive for the people on the West Coast to travel to the East Coast. Same thing, vice versa. Mm-hmm. And then mid seems like the middle of the nation seems like hey, man, everybody can make it. But there's complications with times of years or whatever, the time of the year or whatever. But I think we can make something happen, and I'm interested in this. And I think it's time to kind of unify some things for the betterment of the end of the year World Series.
I mean, we're getting really close. Most of us use the same balls. We all use provided bats. We all follow the same rules as far as eligibility, right? There's no you don't have to worry about playing against a civilian, right? So we're very close. And I do like the idea, though, of a little bit of individuality. Like if Joe is in your tournament, one of the tournaments has really big fields. So I would think that they would want maybe a hotter ball.
Joe's tournament has, I tell the guys all the time, we got to go there with 14 or 15. Those fields are crazy, plus the high fences. But it's interesting because if you hit it out there, you're pretty good.
Well,
you're pretty good when you hit it out in St. Louis.
I'm okay with when you adapt to the venue, right? So use a better ball, whatever it is, right? I don't think we got to use the same ball. We don't all use the same complex every time, so that doesn't make sense. But I do like the same pitching. We're all using Triple SA. I definitely like the same eligibility rules because you don't want to go play against civilians.
Yeah, 100%.
I think we're very close. Yeah.
I like having the balls. I like having bat provided if possible. It's not always possible. But I definitely like the same rules for participation. Real quickly, Deanna, are you ready? I'm going to end this podcast. I want to be able to highlight, Los when it comes from Elite. We have a video real quickly that I wanted to be able to at least highlight with this dude and what he shared with me at the last podcast, not the last podcast, but the last interview I did with him at the World Series. And then Brandon West, he's got a very good comment, and we'll end it on that. Deanna, you have that video? Let's roll it. All right, so we're here with Los, the man. when it comes to Elite, that's one thing. Everybody knows about Elite, and everybody knows that he's the owner. Here's something as a business owner myself. I know that you hire people to go out and I mean, you've been building this for an extremely long time. You hire people to go out and to sell your product, to connect with people. This man had an opportunity to go to a tournament called the Whole Enchilada. And I'll put it like this, can make considerable money at that tournament. But you expressed something to me about wanting to be here, and tell me what you expressed to me about wanting to be here in person instead of even at that tournament.
Well, like the police circuit is one that is different than most circuits. Like, I feel like it's like a brotherhood. Like, you'll hear the screaming and the shouting, but after all said and done, these guys want nothing but the best for each other, and they got each other's back. That made me feel, when I first came here, they made me feel like I belong here. I don't know if that makes sense. Absolutely. But sometimes you go to tournaments and you feel like you don't belong. Like, people don't want you there for whatever reason it is. But these guys made me feel welcome. And, you know, to me, it's not about, like, I tell people, like, it's not about the financial side. It's about the fact that I make these guys feel good and that they make me feel good. Yep. Like, you know, it's not about just the exchange of the money, but they come here and say, thanks for showing up. Yep. Like, that to me means more than anything else. Like, that means I'm welcome here. Yep. And they've even let me play in one of their events. Yeah. And, you know, that just, and like you know, what I want for you, you know, yeah, it's just, you got to rely on me. Yeah. Because you have to understand that, like, the message that he's sending out, it's powerful, people. Go to his podcast, subscribe to his Facebook so you can see the mission statement, because it's good. It's not about money for him. It's about a legacy that he's going to leave behind.
That's the key. And that's what you shared with me earlier. He said, I'm here because I'm able to provide for these guys who provide for us all the time. And it's a part of my legacy to be able to be here to say thank you to them and support in any way you can. And more important than anything, like you said about financial, more important than that is he wants to be here personally to be able to express that to all these guys. And to me, that's what matters, man. Your legacy, falling in love with your last breath. That means a lot to me, because I know when I take my last breath, I can look back and say, that was pretty cool what I did, what I heard about, what I did for people. So thank you very much for being here, brother. All right?
My pleasure.
All right. Yeah, man. Hey, man, that's Los. Provided for your tournament in the World Series, and ultimately provided for us and quite a few tournaments across the year. But it was really cool to be able to hear that from him, as he had a choice between another major tournament, and he chose to be able to show up to this one, and he wants to be able to connect. So I think that's pretty cool. I think, let's see here. Brandon West said, Joe, kind of freaky watching Joe and his stash looking at Trini in the pool. I felt a little uncomfortable also, Brandon. I mean, Joe makes me comfortable most of the time, but whenever I'm in the pool without a shirt on, he looks at me a little weird.
Whatever, man.
Terry Dugan, you know he's always good for a great comment. Need to get out of the pool before the fourth. My God, Terry. That's an ex-Marine right there.
He said, need to get out of the pool before the foreign hookers come. Costa Rica.
Hey, well, I'll tell you what, man. I was really happy to be able to provide this opportunity. Joe and I love to be able to highlight the World Series. I mean, it's the culmination of the work all year long to get to this point. And like I said, man, Dale, you, Jeff, your wives, everybody that participates in calling the games and providing. Man, it's really, really special. I will say this. One person said something earlier, and I'm curious also if it's possible. And let me bring it up real quick, Jeff. Let's see. Here we go. Stu said, is there any chance to get more live streams on the fields or get access to the cameras that are on the fields for next year like USSSA? I think that's cool because people back home want to be able to tune in, and I haven't seen it at the World Series. I might have missed something, but I know we try to do that, but we can only do it from one field at our tournament. So, what are your comments on that, Jeff?
Well, it's interesting. So earlier I talked about a snarky comment about being biased toward the LA Blue. It was due to the game being broadcast or not broadcast, a certain game, or whatever. But the bottom line is like the only thing I have to broadcast is my phone. So if my phone is attached to a fence, right, I can't be the tournament director. And while that game was going on,
Yeah.
I got a text message saying, "Hey, we've got an official protest going on in a different field involving a gold team," and it was during a very important game. So, long story short, is I do feel bad about it. I want to live stream these games. So, here's the come around point. Mario Foster hits me up and he says, "Hey, Jeff, based on my platform for working for Rawlings and blah 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 blah, I want to help more with the sport. If you had a wish, what would that wish be?" And I said, my wish would be to be able to live stream these games, or at least the championship games somehow, without me having to use my phone, because I need my phone to be out. It's just cheesy having a phone up on a fence. I mean, at least it's something. And Mario said he was going to look into it, and like 4 days later, I'm on a conference call with Mario and some guy who does video for USSSA, talking about the potential of that happening next year for Vegas for us, of having a professional, I don't know if it's professional, but a more professional broadcast done for those to watch. Yeah. A company doing it.
If BLD's putting all that money, those millions of dollars that I heard they're putting into that complex, they ought to do like the complex up in Myrtle Beach, put some fixed cameras on every field up there, and then just broadcast them. And then what that complex does in Myrtle Beach is they charge people per day to watch those. So if people are outside, they pay $5, $8 a day.
That's fine. Yeah.
And then you're getting money coming in for however many years those cameras are up, and it's convenient for people that are the family that want to watch the game, and they're nice wide angle cameras in these boxes that are fixed on every field. And that's one thing I did love about the Myrtle Beach complex, that they did have that option.
That might be in the works. I don't know. I'll check. I didn't know, Joe, that they did that, but I'll ask because I'm in good with the big league dreams people. So I'll ask them if that's a plan, and I'll make a recommendation. I mean, if they're going to put that much money into it,
tell them to check it out. That Myrtle Beach complex, you can get online and check out how it's all set up, and then you pay with a credit card, a debit card.
Right, and, $5 or whatever. Watch the game.
For a day, $5 a day. You can watch games all day for $5, $8, whatever it is.
Yeah. So it's in the. I would say it's in the works. I think it's going to be better than what it's been, because right now it's been really spotty as far as getting the games. Co does it with his phone, trying to stand on the field. I was doing it and then getting text messages. It just doesn't work out well.
But then if the music's going too.
Oh, also the other hurdle, Joe, is
we know
music. Yeah, my wife.
Trust me, I know because we post these things on YouTube, and if there's music going on in the background, which you guys use on the home field, like walk-on music, stuff like that, man, all of a sudden you get strikes on YouTube or whatever, and it can cause problems.
And I do say this is that, and I my stance could change on this, but it's more important for me to create for the people that are there, like to enjoy the moment, the music, the announcer stuff, than it is for the people at home. So the people there are going to take priority over like, hey, we don't want any music or anything like that, so the people at home can watch, because there might, I really think being in the moment and just hearing, like when you win the championship and you hear Mike, we are the champions, Blair over the PA system. It's that moment is more important than somebody being able to watch it from home that couldn't be there. I know, like I said, I can waffle on that a little bit, but at the same time, like having been there, like living in the moment, you want that moment as special as possible. So I would never want to. If we could somehow mute it or something like that, be good. I don't know.
I don't remember if those cameras in Myrtle Beach actually have sound, but Fat just made a comment that the Manteca BLD does have fixed cameras on all their fields there. So if BLD's already doing that, maybe they do have that plans for.
They're all owned by the same people, so he would know. I mean, he's a NorCal guy. So
I think it is a toss up. I mean, there is one thing to be said, being in the moment. I talk about that with my kids and my family when we're on vacations and stuff like that. But I do also believe that there are tons of family who can't make it, whether it's work, financial, obligations, whatever it is. And it's like, man, to be able to bring them in is also a huge thing. I have a lot of guys that show up and they don't show up because they want to show up without their wives or their kids. It's the wrong time of the year or whatever. So it might be something that, at least like when we said, maybe when we all talk as directors, maybe it's something that comes up and we get some feedback and see how that goes. Maybe try it one year. If it doesn't work and we get a lot of negative feedback, well, then maybe we'll switch it up. But maybe we try it at least for 1 year. We'll see how it goes. But
part of it's me too. I enjoy the music because I'm there for so long. I like O'Neill and his voice and the music. It creates a better atmosphere. If there's a way we could somehow mute it to keep it off of YouTube, I don't know. Whatever. We can talk about that later.
Yeah. Well, here's what I will say.
Battery's running out.
If there's something that doesn't need to change, it's your veins on your forearms, Jeff. I mean, you put the look at that. I mean, so anyway, hey, I'm happy that you're healthy. Happy you're here. Don't take it for granted. Joe, I'm happy for your stash and you as individuals.
Hey, Trini, I want to thank you for on behalf of all the viewers tonight, for the 2 hours of ASMR with your potato chip eating and you're drinking with the ice in the glass, because that's all, and you're gulping and you're swallowing all this other shit. Anyway, I wanted to thank you on behalf of all the viewers for all that.
Savage.
Well, here's what I will tell you. If you have to thank somebody, thank my family, because they're all going to this Oriental restaurant, and they're all at the resort, and I'm still here. I got to go to the room. I got to shower. I got to get use soap, by the way. And then I got to head over there and join them at the restaurant. They're all already there. But it's for the love of the sport. It's for the camaraderie. I will say this. What a great year, man. What a great year. And in the end, everybody that was able to show up, what a special thing. For those that couldn't make it, whether it be, again, financial, work responsibilities, or in the end, they paid that ultimate price. I will just say, do not take it for granted. We try to be in the moment when we're there, and I'm excited to be able to have this recap and personally to be able to be present in that recap. This is something that I was introduced to and my team was introduced to in 2013. We didn't know anything about it. Since we've been here, it gave us a level of excellence that we've strived to achieve, and the challenge of achieving that has been wonderful. It does not come without those challenges, but in the end, when we're there, those opening ceremonies are huge, and when we're able to stay in the host hotel, what a special thing to be able to visit with all the wonderful people within our circuit. So thank you, Jeff, Dell, your wives, significant others, all the volunteers that take place throughout the year to include the World Series, but also with all the tournament directors that put on these tournaments. And even if they may not be in the Elite Eight, does not cancel them out as being elite. They do what they do in their particular area to provide that same therapy for those officers and those teams. So I'm happy for all of that. What an awesome thing. I'm going to wrap it up from Costa Rica and say thank you guys again. I appreciate it. Joe, thank you for being here with me again. It's I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like,
what's weird, that you're in another country? I mean, what are you talking
about? No. I think it's weird because when it comes to the health challenges and everything, it's kind of weird because this year's wrapped up now, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to be able to have made it to this point. We'll sign off in a minute, but Joe and I and Deanna usually will sit around for a couple of minutes and at least talk and everything. And I'm just, it's another year. I'm very fortunate to be here. So thank you guys for that. Joe, all year long. Deanna, all year long. And I know she's in the background. I don't think she wants to come on, but no, she doesn't. But what I will say is that thank you guys for being there for me and for being there for everyone. You guys have all made sacrifices to make this happen. And it's not overlooked. We don't make money. I don't have a single sponsor. We don't get our money. Nobody that participates in these programs have provided any type of financial support except my wife. But nobody that tunes in has to pay a dime to be able to have this type of camaraderie. So I will just say thank you to all of you who continue to provide for us, to provide this outlet It means so much. We lost 5 officers in the last 5 months due to taking their own lives. So I promise you, there are officers that are in our circuit that are challenged with things, and I believe that things like our podcast help to make them connected with something bigger than themselves. That's extremely important. So thank you guys very much, man. I appreciate you guys. Hey, man. So for me and Joe, want to thank you guys for tuning in again. It's the Police Softball Podcast, and please don't forget that I got your 6.